This brief video is a case study video for one of our GCSE geography case studies, looking specifically at the Union Glacier case study. Why are we looking at this particular case study? Well, this is described in the OCR geography syllabus as one of the key case studies. The part of the syllabus it links to is a case study to examine one small-scale example of sustainable management in either the Arctic or the Antarctic, such as sustainable tourism, conservation and whaling. So you are looking at sustainable tourism in the Antarctic. So Union Glacier is an example of sustainable tourism in the Antarctic. The key is small scale sustainable management. There's another case study on global management, but this is small scale management. So if you get small scale management, see that on the exam paper, you need to know in your head Union Glacier. So where is Union Glacier? Well, Union Glacier is on the Antarctic, and we should remember that the Antarctic is the south, as you can see on your screen, and Union Glacier is the south on Antarctica, and it's kind of on the edge of Antarctica, and that's where Union Glacier is. So Union Glacier in Antarctica, small scale sustainable management. So what is Union Glacier? Union Glacier is a logistics hub, or kind of a base, operated by a private company. So it's not a charity, it's run by a private company to help both tourists that want to visit the Antarctic, gives them somewhere to stay, but also helps other scientific expeditions to use as a staging post. So if you're doing a trip across Antarctic, you can fly to Union Glacier, you can get your supplies at Union Glacier, you can land there, you can stay there for a couple of days before you move on elsewhere. And it's only open for the 4-month summer season. Why? Because the rest of the year it's too cold. If you came to Union Glacier as a holiday and went there as a tourist, what could you do? Well, you could do walking and trekking, you could do climbing, you could visit penguin colonies. So how is it sustainable? How is Union Glacier sustainable? First of all, they have a number of rules. Visitors must stay 5 meters away from wildlife, and groups are limited to a maximum of 20 when visiting the penguin colonies. In addition, before arriving at Union Glacier, you have to agree to follow a set of guidelines, and this includes strict rules on how to behave. Some of the equipment at Union Glacier is powered by solar panels. That provides electricity and means that they don't have to use diesel fuel, which is quite polluting. Any waste produced isn't dumped or buried at the Antarctic, but instead it's contained and then removed at the end of the season. So at the end of the season, the entire camp is packed up and moved away. The area is biosecured. What that means is checked to make sure people aren't bringing with them any seeds or plants with them, and that stops contamination by non-native species. And that may mean if you're wearing walking boots, for example, that you've worn elsewhere, they have to be totally cleaned and disinfected to make sure there isn't a track of mud on them that's got some seeds on them. But some people would argue it's less sustainable. So how is Union Glacier not sustainable? Well, as you can see on the image on the screen, all transport is using aeroplanes and other vehicles that burn large amounts of fossil fuels. There's no green way to get to Union Glacier. We saw its location on the map earlier. It's pretty isolated, it's pretty desolate. Any people going there have the potential to disturb wildlife. And we've said that 5 meters away is for penguins, it is to stop the wildlife, but actually 5 meters is still quite close. Also, it isn't necessarily economically sustainable. Adventure Network International, the company that owns Union Glacier, do it as a profit-making company. They don't do it as a charity. It is making profits. And the cost of going to Union Glacier is really high. Only a limited number of people are able to visit. It's really expensive. It's in the thousands of pounds per night range. We're not talking about a couple of pounds. It is a really, really expensive, really exclusive place to visit. And we've already talked about the fact that 5 meters is actually quite close, and there may still be the potential to disturb penguin colonies. So that's how it isn't sustainable. So let's now look at an exam style question. Now, you may want to pause the video to have a go at this before I talk you through it. So, with reference to a specific example, to what extent is tourism in polar regions sustainable? With reference to a specific example, to what extent is tourism in polar regions sustainable? So, how do you structure this? This should be structured as PED on PED and then a conclusion. And all kind of 8-mark questions, particularly ones that ask you to evaluate or ones that say to what extent, will need you to look at both sides of the argument and then have a conclusion. So a PED paragraph on how it is sustainable, a PED paragraph about how it's not sustainable, and then some kind of judgment with a conclusion. So again, you may want to pause now and have a go at writing that. I've had a go at writing one paragraph on this. So I've had a go at writing a paragraph about how it is sustainable. So my point, tourism to Union Glacier is sustainable as Adventure Network Limited have done a number of things to provide a sustainable experience. My evidence. This includes providing power through solar panels at the camp. There are also strict rules that say people can only get within 5 meters of the penguins. My explanation, this provides environmental sustainability as less fossil fuels are burned for electricity and this doesn't destroy the wildlife. And finally, my develop, or as I prefer, kind of link back to the question, therefore Union Glacier is an example of sustainable tourism in a polar region. And that would be one paragraph. But as you can see at the top, that isn't my question done. I then need to write about a paragraph about how Union Glacier is non-sustainable, and then finally finish up my questions with a conclusion with some kind of judgment. Yes, overall it is sustainable, or no, overall it isn't. So have a go at writing a paragraph, have a go at writing your own answer, and by all means bring it to your geography teacher and show them, or email it to your geography teacher and show them, and they'll be able to give you some feedback.